Good morning, folks. Thanks for joining me here today at the Modern Explorers Guild Workbench. I am Drew, and today we're going to go through how I do a freehand for a banner. Now, the process we're going to talk about is applicable to pretty much any freehand you want to do, but today it's going to be for this little guy right here. This is the standard bearer for a Tzeentch aligned Slaves to Darkness Chaos Warriors group. This is the old sculpt because this is what I had, but they're being repainted here for the purposes of fitting into this army. And this is actually the last model of all the models I've done now for this army. And so this will have been a probably 10-part series going through the process of making an army from start to finish. And I believe it took, so I started January 1st. And that means it's been about 3 months. And that's not too bad for doing an entirely new army for a system I previously had no armies for. But today we're going to go through the process of how I do freehands. And so the first thing I do when considering what it is I'm going to do for my freehands is I tend to Google the general terms that I'm looking for. So in this case, I Googled Tzeentch, banner, freehand, eye, magic. I just threw all those words together into a Google search. And I looked at several hundred different images, things that people had already done. And I don't have to tell you guys this, but there's just some incredible artists out there putting out amazing work every day. But during the process, I found one in particular that I liked. Now let's see if I grab the right one. There we go. So a Google search eventually returned this banner right here. And this banner actually comes from Reddit. And this was from You Troll Skull Tales. So 10 months ago, it was posted to the R Mini Painting Reddit. And again, this is You Troll Skull Tales is the person who did this art here. So just making sure they get credit for their really good work. And what really spoke to me on this piece is not only the choice of color, but the technique that was used to make it. And so this was used primarily using a technique called pointillism. And you can see each one of these little pricks of paint is just a little poke from the paintbrush. And I like that. I think that adds an interesting aesthetic as well as kind of a built-in texture to this. So what I'm going to do is break down how I believe he made this banner. And we're going to reproduce it here on this banner in a little bit different way. So I'm going to put my own spin on it here. We have, of course, a different size that we're working with, a different shape. And you might recognize this. This is the old Cities of Sigmar banner from somebody, maybe the elves. But I had bits laying around, and this guy's banner was kind of created from some things. Let's talk a little bit about how I think they did this. They started off with what appears to be a black background, and then they worked this splay of color in the center up first, starting from dark blues and maybe a little bit of purple, so dark blues and greens, moving up to lighter blues and greens, and then they ended up putting in this eye here in the center. And then they worked this using a varieties of reds and purples, maybe a deep magenta here. And so they ended up with this eye. Then they put in this writing and they went over it just slightly. You can see this writing is slightly broken up by some more dots, which they added on top, I believe. And then once this part of it was totally done, they added the flames coming from the bottom, starting with what appears to be a lighter color, putting a darker color over it here for the flame, and then giving it just a little bit of a highlight here and there. And what we'll end up doing is doing most of this, and then we'll pick another reference for the flames. These flames are fine, but I want mine to look a little bit different than this. Again, this is our matte black by Army Painter. Our Army Painter Dark Sky. gonna start with Macragge Blue. Then we're going to move through a Soltec Green. Then we're going to be going through a Lothrian Blue. And then finally we'll work with an Ivory by AK Interactive. So for this, let's get a little bit finer brush. This is a Army Painter Kalinsky Masterclass here with Sable. We're gonna go with an AK purple here. I'm gonna mix in just a little bit of our Mephisto.
We're gonna add some of our Warlock purple here. Now we've mixed just a little bit of our AK Ivory into our Warlock Purple, and we're stepping up.
let's go ahead and get some of our purples down. We're going to start with a very dark purple and work our way up. So we have our eye on the field, surrounded by a few glyphs, which are difficult to read, and our flames right around the edge that we slowly built up using our reference.
So thank you so much, folks, for joining me today. I hope to see you again here next time.